Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sofie Syahila Rambe with registration number 2314050022. In this occasion, I would like to present my research proposal entitled The Effectiveness of Reading Aloud Technique on Students' Pronunciation Ability Through Narrative Text. So for the first slide, there is a background of the problem. So the background of the problem from my research is classroom scenario where students can read English silently, but when asked to read aloud, they hesitate, mispronounce words, and even lose confidence. So for the background of the problem in my research, there are three um, main reason or three main problem. For the first is phonological interference. So students apply Indonesian phonetic patterns to English words, causing systematic errors. And the second, there is lack of practice in Indonesian classroom. Teaching focuses on grammar and passive reading. Of course, pronunciation training is neglected. And the last reason, there is loss of confidence. Average of students in Indonesian loss of their confidence because pronunciation difficulties lead to hesitation and avoidance of speaking activities. So, because of this reason, I um, I want proof that reading aloud through narrative text is proposed as the solution of this problem. And next, research question, purpose, and significance. So for the main research question from my research is there significant effect of reading aloud technique on students' pronunciation ability? With the purpose, of course, to find out whether there is a significant effect of reading aloud technique on students' pronunciation ability. And then there is significance of the study. For the students, improve pronunciation, build confidence, develop awareness of correct sounds production. And for the teachers, this research provides an alternative instructional strategy using narrative text. And for the schools, preference for developing oral communication learning programs, and for the future research as foundation for further EFL pronunciation and reading aloud studies. And next, definition of reading aloud. Reading aloud is an activity of reading a text aloud that directly trains English articulation, intonation, and pronunciation rhythm. So here I have some definition from expert. For the first, there is from Harmer 2004. Reading aloud is an activity of reading a text aloud to practice pronunciation and intonation. And then Huang 2010, reading aloud helps learners focus on phonological production without the burden of generating spontaneous ideas. And the last, there is from Trellis 2001. Reading aloud builds vocabulary, listening comprehension, and a lifelong positive attitude toward reading. So, according to definition from expert above, we can conclude that reading aloud is one of effective technique that can improve pronunciation through active oral practice. And then there is definition of pronunciation ability. So pronunciation ability is the capability to produce English sounds clearly and accurately, including stress and intonation, according to Kelly 2000. So in pronunciation, there is four main components. For the first is accuracy. Accuracy, it means how we correct production of individual sounds like vowels and consonant. And the second component is intonation, um, how we rise and fall of pitch in spoken language. And then is stress. Stress, it means we emphasize place on certain syllables or words. And the last is rhythm or fluency, natural flow and pacing of connected speech. So the four components of pronunciation I got from the Celse, Murcia, Brenton and Godwin, um, 2010. And the next there is the definition of narrative text. According to Anderson and Anderson, 1997, narrative text is a type of text that tells a story to entertain or inform the readers or listeners. So why I choose narrative text for reading aloud technique? For the first reason, narrative text it have rich vocabulary. Like fairy tales contain varied imaginative vocabulary ideal for pronunciation practice. And the second reason is engaging storylines. So narrative text is interesting plots encourages students to participate actively and reduce their reading anxiety. And the next reason, narrative text is varied sentence structures. So in narrative text, diverse syntactic patterns expose students to natural stress and intonation rhythms. And the last reason is there is a curriculum line. So narrative text include in curriculum line, including fairy tale in SMP English curriculum in according to Kemendikbud to 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 2013. And the next there is relevant studies. So here I have some of relevant studies from my research. Yeah, so here's I have 5 previous study. For the first, there is from Nuranin and Roshada 2015 with mean scores improved from 60 61 to 77.75 to reading aloud assessment. But her object is adult as a learner with CA resign. And then Mardia et al. 2024 student success rate rose from 37.5% to 81.25% cycle 1 to cycle 2 using reading aloud. And then Rianti Sabarun and Komaria 2025 reading aloud significantly improved pronunciation with average score 55.64 to 73.27 in junior high students. And then there is Sundari et al. 2023 where her study about vowel and consonant errors are major challenges. Structured reading aloud practice effectively addresses this. And the last, there is from Samsul and Bahtiar 2024. Her study showed that Reading aloud method improve reading skill with pre-test average 50.20 to post-test 70.27 with significant 0.00 and 0.05. And then there is conceptual framework for my research. Yeah, as we can see, there are three stages in my research. For the first is input, where I will do the pretest to get the to get the student's initial pronunciation ability first, and then after the pretest I will do the treatment with the some steps of reading aloud. Yeah, so for the reading aloud technique I have 5 steps. For the first is preparation and teacher modeling, students read aloud, feedback and correction, and the last follow-up activity. And the last stages it is output, where I will do the post-test to improve pronunciation ability. Yeah, um, for the remains, I will use narrative text um, that exactly fairy tale. And then there is hypothesis. So for the my research, there is alternative hypothesis or alternative hypothesis. There is a significant effect of using reading aloud technique on student pronunciation ability, and null hypothesis with the statement there is no significant effect of using reading aloud technique on students pronunciation ability, but expected outcome from my research is the study expects to accept alternative hypothesis that the reading aloud technique through narrative text will significantly improve students' pronunciation ability compared to conventional instruction. And then we move to the chapter 3, research method. For the research type of my research is quantitative research with quasi-experimental design and non-equivalent control group design. With the rules, there is pretest. Yeah, like I said before, both groups measure initial pronunciation ability first, and then they are um, get treatment. For the experimental group, I will give the reading aloud technique, and for the control group, I will use conventional method. So I will do around 4 until 6 meetings for do the treatment. And after the treatment, I will do the post-test where both groups measure pronunciation improvement. And for the research variables, in my research, independent or X variable is a reading aloud technique through narrative text, whereas dependent or Y variable is the student's pronunciation ability. And then there is instrument and data analysis. Research for the research instrument in my research is use oral pronunciation test where students read a narrative text aloud, and I will score on 4 aspects, that is accuracy, stress, intonation, and rhythm or fluency. Each aspect will score 1 until 5, rubric based on Brown 2004. For the population and sample, for the population, all grade 7 students, 2026 2027 academic year, and for the sample is two classes via purposive sampling. Class A for the experimental group and the class B be the control group. So that's for the presentation for my research proposal. Thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.